You are the center of your world, not by ego, but by divine truth. Everything you see, everything you touch, everything you experience, it all flows from within you. Until you understand this, you will continue to chase shadows in the world, hoping they will give you light. The greatest mistake you can make is to look outward for your fulfillment, for your purpose, for your validation. That is a game of illusion. It is a theater of distraction. And every moment you spend in that theater, you are wasting the precious power that was given only to you. Stop. Stop giving your energy to things that do not matter. Stop scrolling endlessly. Stop comparing. Stop gossiping. Stop waiting. You were not made to be a spectator in your own life. You were made to create, to shape, to imagine, and bring forth. Imagination is not daydreaming, it is creation. It is the sacred place where you plant the seeds of your future. What you consistently imagine with feeling, you bring into form. The outer world is nothing more than the mirror of your inner. So what are you assuming about yourself? Are you assuming defeat? Are you assuming limitations? Are you assuming that you are not enough? Because life will prove you right. It is not the world that is against you. It is the story you are telling yourself that shapes your destiny. Withdraw from the world for a moment, not forever, but long enough to remember who you are. Turn your attention inward and ask, what am I giving life to in my mind? What am I accepting as true in silence? Focus on yourself, not in selfishness, but in sacred self-responsibility. Time is your most sacred possession. And when you give your time to worry, to complaining, to blaming others, you are robbing yourself of the power to transform. Every second you spend judging someone else is a second stolen from the life you could be building. Live from the end. Not tomorrow, not someday. Now, feel the reality of the life you desire as if it were already here. Your mind is the womb of creation. What you nurture in it will come to pass. You want a new life? Change the image you hold of yourself. Stop waiting for the world to change. Change your self-concept and the world will conform. You cannot attract abundance from a mindset of lack. You cannot find love if you believe you are unworthy of it. Become the version of you who already has what you seek. And above all, persist. Do not waver in the vision you hold. Doubt is the enemy of manifestation. Faith is the bridge from the invisible to the visible. Hold fast. Assume the state, dwell in it, and the world will reshape itself around your new identity. You are divine, you are powerful, you are the operant power. There is no one coming to rescue you because you already are what you seek. Focus on yourself. Stop wasting time. The life you want is already within you, waiting to be awakened. You are the cause of your life, not your parents, not your circumstances, not the economy, not your past. You. Until this truth is understood, not intellectually, but experientially, you will continue to live as a victim in a world you believe is happening to you. But the world does not happen to you, it happens through you. The experiences you draw into your life, the people you encounter, the situations you face, all of it emerges from the deep, often unseen beliefs you carry within. If you believe you are unworthy, life will bring evidence of that belief. If you see yourself as powerful, life will unfold in ways that affirm your inner conviction. There is no exception. Life is not punishing or rewarding you. Every feeling, every assumption, every inner conversation is a seed planted in the field of your consciousness. And that field is always fertile. It does not judge what you plant. It simply returns to you what you believe to be true. If you constantly speak of struggle, expect more struggle. If you constantly dwell in gratitude and possibility, expect more things to be grateful for. You are the only author of your script, and every thought is ink on the page. People will argue that they are products of their upbringing, that they had no choice. But even that belief is a choice being made now. What matters is not where you started, but what you continue to assume about yourself. Your assumptions, not your history, dictate your future. To change your world, you must first change your relationship with yourself. You must accept that everything outside is a mirror turned inward. The situations you keep encountering are not random. They are patterns born of your own inner state. When you begin to take ownership of this, not with guilt, but with awareness, everything shifts. You are no longer tossed by the winds of circumstance. You become the wind. No one can think your thoughts for you. No one can feel your assumptions for you. You are the center of your own universe, and everything that orbits you does so in response to the vibration you emit. If you change your vibration by changing your state of consciousness, the entire system around you must respond in kind. You are not here to react. You are here to create, not by force, but by inner alignment. There is no power outside of you that overrides the power within you. The only limits you encounter are the ones you accept as real. And the moment you stop blaming and start imagining anew, the path opens. The cause is always internal, and the effect must follow. This is the law. Imagination is the only reality. What you see with your physical eyes, what you hear with your ears, what you touch with your hands. These are shadows, echoes of something far more powerful and foundational. The visible world is not the cause, but the result. It is the outpicturing of imagination made solid. Every structure, every invention, every relationship, every circumstance you encounter was once an invisible idea, a feeling, a mental picture held within someone. What you accept in imagination, what you feel to be true, becomes your experience. It does not matter whether you see it now with your physical senses. What matters is that you have seen it clearly within, because the inner scene will always outpicture itself as the outer event, provided you remain faithful to it. The outer world bends to the persistence of the inner image. The more real it becomes in your imagination, the more it must materialize in form. It cannot do otherwise. That is the law. People often treat imagination as fantasy, as something disconnected from the world, as if imagination is a place of dreams that vanish when the real world appears. But what they do not understand is that the so-called real world is the dream, and imagination is the source from which that dream is continually formed. You cannot have a new world with the same old mental pictures. You cannot step into a higher life while clinging to the same internal movie that plays night after night in your mind. Imagination does not work through logic or effort. It works through acceptance. What you accept as true in the quiet of your mind becomes law for you, even if no one else believes it, even if the facts are against you. Facts change. But imagination, once accepted, rewrites facts to conform to its vision. Your life is not shaped by what is true now. It is shaped by what you believe to be true, what you emotionally accept as your reality before the evidence appears. If you want to change your life, do not begin by changing things around you. Begin by changing the movie that plays in your mind. Change the scenes you replay, the conversations you rehearse, the outcomes you fear or desire. Live in the feeling of your wish fulfilled. Walk in the end of your desire as though it were already done. Speak, think, and feel from the place where it is already real. Because once it is real to you in imagination, it is only a matter of time before the world conforms. Imagination is not passive, it is the creative force of your being. What you hold within must express itself without. This is not positive thinking, it is spiritual law. You are not here to observe reality. You are here to shape it, mold it, breathe life into it through the images and feelings you entertain within. Everything begins and ends in imagination, and nothing appears in your world unless it first existed as a thought, accepted and sustained in the unseen. Withdraw attention from the world, not as an escape, but as a return to your true center, the place where your life actually begins. The world outside, with all its noise, opinions, headlines, and distractions, is not the source of your power. It is the echo of your inner state. And when you give all your attention to what is happening out there, you begin to lose connection with what you are creating in here. The more you stare at the outer world, the more you become hypnotized by appearances. You begin to believe that conditions are fixed, that circumstances are greater than your power to transform them. You start reacting instead of creating. You become entangled in arguments, news cycles, gossip, and comparisons, all of which drain your creative energy and rob you of your vision. The world will offer you endless reasons to stay distracted, but none of them will lead you to freedom. Every time you judge by appearances, you give your power away. You look at the bank account, the diagnosis, the relationship, the job title, and you decide what is possible based on what your senses tell you. But your senses are not the final authority. They only report what has already been imagined and accepted in consciousness. They are historians, not creators. And when you forget that, you begin to live as if the world outside of you has the final say. To create change, you must withdraw attention from what is and place it on what you desire to be, not in denial, but in deeper awareness. You must learn to see beyond the visible, to feel the reality of the unseen, to choose inner vision over outer noise. When you stop reacting to the world and start imagining the world you choose to live in, you reclaim your power as the operant force of your experience. The world will tempt you with evidence of failure, fear, delay, and limitation. But that evidence is not your master. It is your mirror. And when the mirror shows a reflection you do not like, you do not attack the mirror. You change the image within. Withdraw your attention from the mirror and return to the source. Return to your consciousness. There, and only there, do real changes begin. To withdraw attention is not to abandon the world, but to stop being ruled by it. It is to stop giving emotional energy to conditions that contradict your desire. It is to stop feeding the unwanted with your focus. What you feed grows. What you ignore with conviction and inner vision fades. The world will always conform to your dominant state, but you must choose where you dwell internally. When you begin to live from within, when you nourish the vision in your imagination more than you indulge the facts of the outer world, the facts begin to shift. They bend, they rearrange, not because the world is kind or fair, but because you are no longer ruled by it. You have remembered the secret. What you withdraw from dies. Time is your greatest currency. You may recover money, possessions, even health, but once a moment has passed, it is gone. You spend time with every breath, every thought, every choice. And whether you realize it or not, you are always investing it. The question is, where and in what? Every second is a seed planted in the garden of your future. You are either watering the vision of the life you want or feeding the weeds of distraction, doubt, and delay. Time does not wait for you to become ready. It flows with or without your permission, carrying you into the results of what you consistently choose to focus on. It makes no exceptions, it shows no favoritism. It simply mirrors back the harvest of your priorities. Many speak of wanting change, success, peace, love, or purpose, yet they trade their time for worry, for endless scrolling, for conversations that go nowhere, for entertainment that numbs rather than nourishes. They give their most valuable resource to things that offer no return, and then they wonder why the results do not match their desires. But life is not built on intention alone. It is built on what you give your time to, daily, repeatedly, habitually. Time is not just the ticking of the clock. It is consciousness unfolding. Every hour carries potential, and every moment is a doorway through which you are either stepping into alignment with your higher vision or walking further away from it. When you treat time casually, life responds casually. When you honor time as sacred, life begins to honor you with the fruit of your attention. You must become aware of the silent choices you make each day. The choice to delay action, the choice to entertain doubt, the choice to listen to voices that pull you away from your own. These are not small decisions. They are investments. And just as surely as money compounds, so too does the way you spend your time. The small habits, the daily rituals, the thoughts you repeat, they grow. And one day you wake up surrounded not by surprises, but by the inevitable result of your past attention. There is no someday, there is only now. Now is the only moment where power lives. Now is the only point at which you can imagine differently, choose differently, become differently. To wait is to waste. To postpone is to deny the truth, that the creative moment is always present, always available, always asking, "What will you do with me?" Those who transform their lives are not those with more time, but those who have learned to direct it with purpose. They understand that 10 focused minutes of inner work can change the course of a year. They know that even in the smallest window of silence, a vision can be planted that alters the course of their reality. You are not running out of time. You are running out of unconscious permission to waste it. Life is not asking you to do everything. It is asking you to become aware of what matters and to align your time with that. Every second is a choice, and every choice creates the conditions of your becoming. Live from the end, not toward it, not near it, not waiting for it, but from it. To live from the end is to occupy the state of your fulfilled desire now, in consciousness, before the evidence arrives. It is to claim the reality of what you want as if it were already yours, and to dwell in that inner assurance regardless of outer appearances. This is not fantasy, it is the creative act. The true manifestation begins the moment you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. When you live from the end, you no longer ask if it will happen, you know it has. You are not begging, hoping, or reaching, you are being. You walk, speak, feel, and think from the reality that already contains your answered desire. The outer world may still look the same, but within everything has shifted. And because your inner state governs what you experience, the world must eventually reflect your assumption. Most people live from the middle. They acknowledge their desire, but they keep checking on it, doubting it, asking when or how it will appear. In doing so, they remain separate from the very thing they want. They keep standing outside of it, trying to enter, but to live from the end is to enter mentally first. It is to step inside the scene of your desired future and make it your home. To occupy the end is to make the invisible visible in your inner world. You see it with the eyes of imagination, you feel it with your senses, you touch it with your heart, and because you have experienced it internally, you no longer need the external to convince you. You have moved. And that movement, though unseen by others, is the seed of the new world you are creating. Living from the end is not pretending. It is not acting as if something is true while secretly believing it isn't. It is a shift in identity. It is accepting that you are now the version of yourself who already has what you desire. It means thinking the thoughts that version of you would think, making decisions as that person would, walking into rooms with the posture and energy of someone who already lives the life you've imagined. There is no effort in this state, only assumption and faith. You do not need to force results. You are not trying to convince the world. You are resting in the knowing that what you've accepted within must take form without. The delay, if there is one, is not denial. It is simply the unfolding of events necessary to bring the unseen into the seen. But you do not waver. You remain in the state. You dwell there mentally. You return to it in every quiet moment. Every time doubt arises, you re-enter the end. Every time fear whispers, you bring yourself back to the vision. You remember who you are and what you've already claimed in consciousness. You refuse to live in the gap between desire and fulfillment, and instead bridge that gap by assuming the end as your present. In doing so, you collapse time, not by force, but by alignment. You meet the future now, and the world responds in kind. Self-concept is destiny. It is the silent architect behind every experience, every relationship, every opportunity, and every outcome in your life. Long before events unfold in the outer world, they are shaped and set in motion by the image you hold of yourself. This image, often invisible to the conscious mind, governs what you allow, what you resist, and what you unconsciously create again and again. You do not get what you want, you get what you are. And what you are is determined by your self-concept. You may affirm abundance, speak of success, or desire love, but if your inner conception of yourself is rooted in lack, unworthiness, or limitation, your outer world will mirror that self-perception. The outer is not autonomous, it is a faithful servant of your inner identity. You can only receive what your self-concept permits you to believe is possible for you. And until that concept changes, life will repeat the same patterns under different names. Your self-concept is formed by the thoughts you consistently think, the emotions you regularly feel, and the assumptions you habitually accept. It is not something fixed at birth, though many treat it that way. It is molded and remolded through repetition, attention, and belief. What you believe about yourself quietly, deeply, habitually becomes your fate. If you see yourself as overlooked, you will experience exclusion. If you see yourself as valuable, the world will reflect that value back to you. The key is awareness. You must become aware of how you see yourself, not just in words, but in feeling. Do you feel powerful or powerless? Do you feel chosen or forgotten? Do you feel like the creator of your life or the victim of it? These feelings are not passing moods. They are signals pointing to your self-concept, and if you want to change your life, you must begin by changing the concept of the self from which you are operating. Changing your self-concept is not about pretending or faking confidence. It is about choosing new thoughts, planting new assumptions, and persisting in a new identity until it becomes natural. It is a daily practice. It is revising the old stories you've believed for years and replacing them with new ones that align with your true potential. And the moment you begin to live from this new version of yourself, the world begins to shift accordingly. You are not limited by your past, your upbringing, or your current conditions. You are limited only by the concept of self that you continue to affirm, and that concept can be changed at any moment. The shift may not produce instant results in the physical world, but it produces immediate change in your consciousness. And that is where all transformation begins. When you elevate your self-concept, you elevate your destiny. When you believe you are worthy of love, love appears. When you believe you are capable of success, the paths open. When you accept yourself as powerful, the world responds with opportunities that reflect that power. Everything begins and ends with the way you see yourself. Change the conception of yourself, and you change the script of your life. Persistence in assumption is power. It is the unwavering commitment to the inner reality you have chosen to accept, regardless of how the outer world appears. It is not a one-time declaration, but a sustained state of consciousness that refuses to shift under the pressure of delay, contradiction, or opposition. Assumption is the seed, persistence is the watering. Without persistence, the seed withers. With it, the assumption becomes a living reality. To assume a thing is to claim it as done in the unseen. It is to mentally occupy the state of the wish fulfilled, to walk and think from the end, not toward it. But that assumption must be held steadily. The world will test your resolve, not maliciously, but mechanically. It will reflect back your past beliefs, your old habits, your former identity. And in that moment, the temptation will be to react, to doubt, to give up the assumption and return to the old self. But power belongs to the one who persists. Persistence is not about physical effort. It is not about how hard you work or how much you do. It is about inner loyalty, loyalty to the vision, loyalty to the feeling, loyalty to the new reality you have claimed as true. It is a silent confidence that continues to assume even when the facts seem unchanged. It is knowing that the assumption, held consistently, must eventually clothe itself in the garments of experience. When you persist in assumption, you are not forcing the world to change. You are allowing it to. You are holding the state until the world rearranges itself to match it. There is no need to manipulate or control. You do not chase, you dwell. You do not beg, you assume. You do not wish, you embody. And by this persistent embodiment, reality bends. Many begin with conviction, but abandon the assumption when the evidence does not appear quickly. They plant the seed, then dig it up to check if it is growing. They undo their own work by oscillating between belief and doubt. But manifestation does not respond to occasional assumption, it responds to sustained belief. It is the one who remains in the state, regardless of appearances, who sees the harvest. You must persist, not only when it is easy, but especially when it is not. When the outer world contradicts your desire, that is the precise moment persistence must be applied. You return to the inner state again and again until it becomes natural. You remind yourself that the outer is only a reflection, and the reflection must change once the inner image is firmly held. You do not ask when, you do not ask how, you remain faithful to the assumption until it takes form. Persistence is the difference between wishing and creating. It is the invisible muscle that strengthens every assumption and carries it into the visible world. You are not waiting on life. Life is waiting on your consistency. Assume, persist, and let the unseen become seen. You are divine and unlimited. This is not a poetic idea or a comforting phrase. It is the truth of your being. Beneath your name, your history, your personality, and your circumstances, there is a presence that is not bound by time, not limited by condition, and not defined by the world. It is eternal, creative, and sovereign. That presence is you. It is not something you have to earn or become. It is something you must remember. You were not born to live a life of limitation, lack, or fear. Those are states you have accepted, not who you truly are. The world may have told you otherwise. It may have shaped your mind to believe you are small, ordinary, powerless. But those beliefs were inherited, not chosen. And what was accepted can be revised. Because at your core, you are not a product of this world. You are the power that shapes it. There is nothing outside of you that has more authority than what lives within you. The world cannot limit you unless you first agree to be limited. Circumstances do not define you. They reveal the self-concept you hold. And that concept can be lifted. You are not bound by facts. You are bound only by your imagination and what you believe to be true about yourself. When you begin to accept that your identity is not limited to your name or your body, you begin to access the vast creative force that lives behind your every word, every thought, every assumption. You do not need permission to change. You do not need the approval of others to expand. The power has always been yours, waiting on your recognition. The divine nature within you does not rise through effort. It rises through acceptance. The moment you dare to believe that you are more than what the world has shown you, the world begins to shift in response. Not because it is being generous, but because it is your mirror. The creative force that formed galaxies, that breathes life into form, that imagined the universe into existence, that same force lives in you, speaks through you, moves by way of your consciousness. You are not separate from it. You are it in individual expression. And when you begin to think, feel, and act from this awareness, everything changes. Limitations dissolve. Possibilities multiply. The world opens where before there were only walls. To accept your divinity is not arrogance, it is alignment. It is returning to the truth that was buried under fear and doubt. You are not here to merely survive. You are here to create, to express, to embody the fullness of your being. The only limits are the ones you continue to entertain. The moment you stop believing in them, they lose their power. Because the power was never in the condition, it was always in your perception. You are divine and unlimited. Not someday, not once you've achieved something, now, always. The moment you accept this as truth, the laws of your life begin to change. And everything that once felt far away begins to draw near. Not because the world shifted, but because you understand this. Your thoughts, your beliefs, and your inner vision are the architects of your reality. You are not defined by your past, your circumstances, or the world around you. You are the creator of your life, and you have the power to shape it in alignment with your deepest desires. When you truly grasp the divinity and unlimited potential within you, when you persist in assuming the life you desire, and when you focus on the vision of who you truly are, the world must respond. Remember, time is your greatest currency. Spend it wisely. Withdraw your attention from the distractions of the world and invest it in your vision. For your self-concept is your destiny, and persistence in your assumptions is the key to unlocking that power. You are divine. You are unlimited. Never forget that. Thank you.